Good afternoon, everyone. A company with 90 years of history. 2.5 billion people use products each day. 400 plus brands are used by consumers worldwide. 190 countries in which their brands are sold. 1,55,000 people deliver success to the company. 52 billion euro is the turnover in 2019. Is there a doubt which company I am referring to? The one and only Unilever. We are extremely delighted and privileged to have with us today Mr. Biddappa sir, a Unilever veteran of 28 years and its Global Vice President HR, Home Care Products. We have a great pleasure in welcoming the chief guest of the day, Mr. Biddappa sir, Director sir, Deputy Director Placements, ma'am, deans, all the teachers, and my dear friends who have visited us today from the Jaipur and Dehradun campus as well. Thank you all for coming to the 6th IBS event of this season. Before we commence the program, we shall seek the blessings of the Lord Almighty. Friends, you are face to face with the global HR head of Unilever. Your fortunes may change, who knows? May I now invite our director sir to offer his introductory address.
Mr. B.P. Biddappa, Global Vice President HR, Unilever, distinguished members of faculty, and almost 300 students. So I am very happy to extend a very warm welcome to Mr. B.P. Biddappa. He is an extraordinary person heading the HR department, but before that he has had his hands on several dimensions of the functioning of one of the most prestigious company in the world, namely Unilever, and he would be speaking to you turning 21st in 2020. I want my dear students to, at least at the end of this talk, you should be very confident on a couple of things. First, you must know what is a global company, because you are face to face with a person, with a great professional who is leading these companies. So what is a global company? How a global company is different from a domestic company? How the management practices of a global company distinguish themselves from the normal rut of companies? Why do companies restrict their scale and operations? What are the advantages of remaining domestic? What kind of risks are there in order to become a global company? And how do we counter those risks? What are the risk mitigation strategies?
Thank you very much, sir, for that speech, which sets the ball rolling for the chief guest speech.
Thank you so much for having me. It is indeed a privilege to be here, and Professor Sharma, Professor Venkataraman, deans, faculty, students, it is really a privilege to be with you here today. You obviously humbled me with all those words of praise. I actually thought 21 and 21, but you said, 21 and 20, and that makes a lot of sense. So what's the thinking behind this? Thinking behind this is two things. One is clearly what are the strains and the trends of 2021, 22, 23 that we see coming into 2020, and what of the future can we see already happening with us today? So this is to spend a few minutes and reflect about that. The second is obviously the point of life that you are, which is that you're adulting. Yeah, you're 21, 22, 23 at that point of time in life. The question is, what kind of world are you entering? What's going to be different in the world? What's happened in the last 20, 22 years? So I'll share a couple of things that I think are new, and also a couple of lessons that I picked up along the way, and hopefully they will help you by way of hints about how things go. I've been privileged to be part of an incredibly wonderful company. But somewhere this dream has always been in my mind that, I want to work in a company and I want to work in an organization where you can contribute a lot more to society. And it's not just about making profits. It's not just about, having a good job. And by chance, I was actually going to do a PhD in the US in finance when Unilever, Hindustan Lever happened to come by and offered me a role, and I went. Yeah, and I didn't go thinking I'm going to be spending 10 years or 20 years or 30 years, but it's now been 28 years, and it just goes to prove that it is possible to spend a long time in a company and thoroughly enjoy yourself and feel even more excited 28 years about the company as you were when you joined. So have faith. Life for me, going straight into a factory and a lot of industrial strikes, Riots, go-slows, all kinds of stuff. Yeah, riots. We had the Ayodhya riots at that time. And I think that made me the kind of person I am, because I think going in through a difficult, challenging experience really molds you to a large extent. And I think I've picked really 4 lessons that that help me through being in a global role, being in local operating companies, being in really tough situations. The first of them is value your roots. It keeps you grounded. Look back at where you come from with pride. Yeah? My father, as I said, is a scientist. My mom's a teacher. I'm immensely proud of the contributions they have made to society. The second is be yourself. Don't try and be somebody else. Obviously, in the next 20 years, you will grow, you will change, you'll become a different person in many ways. The experiences you go through will shape the kind of person you're going to become. But I think the first starting point is be secure in the kind of person that you are. The third is have a sense of purpose. What do you want to do? Of course, you're going to get a job. Of course, you're going to get a good job. You will get a local job. It'll be a global job. You'll travel around the world. You will represent your country. Wherever you go, people will look at you and they'll decide, okay, is India a cool place or not? Because the stuff they see on the news may be very different from what it actually is. So you must have a sense of purpose of what you want to do. What do you want to create? You've privileged. You're the top 0.5% to less than 0.5% in this country. And I think the last lesson that I would give is really take ownership. Leadership is about optimism. People don't want to follow people who are pessimists or cynics, who are negative. You want to follow someone who's optimistic, who's happy, who has a sense of taking charge. So just think about that. What kind of person would you like to be as a leader, and how would you like to lead your people? And I think that's the only thing these are the 4 things that you probably need to have with you by way of lessons. Yeah.
What an amazing speech it was, sir. Sure to reverberate in our minds for times to come. We now move to the question and answer session.
I have one small question. Yesterday, Haryana government has passed an ordinance that 75% private jobs should go to the locals. And I'm sure that many states are going to follow it. Now, sometime before it was from local to global, and then from global to local, and now local and sub-local. What is your take on this?
I think that, I would expect a bit of this protectionism or, covering the bases to happen. Yeah, it'll definitely happen in the countries. You can see the visa rules changing in the US every day. Yeah, and students are now having to probably come back because the latest one is if you don't have offline classes, if you're online classes, your visa is cancelled. You've got to come back to the country. So I think this is a bit of a reaction initially. There has always been a strong son of the soil movement in every state in the past as well. Yeah. So I think there's always been a movement with every state to try and get employment for their states. I think the issue is with places like Haryana, or Maharashtra, where you have Gurgaon or Mumbai, which are actually in some way they also belong to the country. Yeah, they are not just purely a state location. Gurgaon has become such a big hub now that it is actually a global hub. So I think as these evolve, these locations will have to be far more sensitive. So for example, a London or a Singapore or a New York, or a Paris, will struggle a lot more by saying, in saying that, okay, everyone has to be local. Because these are global hubs for talent. Yeah, a lot of companies have their headquarters in Gurgaon, a lot of companies have their headquarters in Mumbai. It's a phase. Have faith over a period of time. I hope global economics will play a role in opening countries.
Thank you, ma'am.
So I think the first question which I've just answered is Shivani's question, which is during this pandemic, what type of challenges have you been facing? Yeah, and it's an interesting question because the types of challenges that we've been facing have not only been protecting lives, but it has also been protecting livelihoods, providing medical infrastructure, safety systems. How do we track and make sure that we know where people are and have they been exposed to any risk or not? How do we make sure care is given to expats or foreign people in different countries working away from their homes? How do we address a principal issue of mental well-being? Because a lot of people, as the questions also came, people have had a lot of mental well-being issues. So how do we handle that? And fundamentally also, how do we keep the business running? How do we make sure our products reach the outlet? How do we make sure people reach factories? How do we make sure that trucks are able to get onto the road and get our products? Because, by the way, these factories need to produce products that are good for people. So in India, for example, we went state by state by state, talking to district magistrates, ministers, chief ministers, the prime minister's office, to have some of our products declared as essential commodities so that they can be, we could actually get those manufacturing facilities running and distribution happening. So these are the kind of challenges that we have. The second question, which is what makes HUL unique or different from other FMCG companies? Yeah. Again, an interesting question, because it's not a question that many people, that strikes many people. What is unique about Unilever or HUL? And I'm saying Unilever because I think HUL is a subset in some ways. A few things that mark us out. The first is we have incredibly powerful brands that are very purpose-led. Yeah, so it's a Lifebuoy that actually helps a child reach the age of 5, or it is a Dove that helps people with self-esteem. But a lot of brands that are purpose built into them. And if you look at 100 years back when the company was started, it was actually started saying, let's make washing easier. Let's make cleaning sensible. Yeah, let's make people live longer because they have a cleaner life. And I think, our products help that happen. So I think having powerful brands is one. The second is a top-notch set of talent across the country, across the business, across Unilever, whichever market you go to, you'll find top-class talent. And we are never compromising on that. So wherever you are, you go and you know that you get really good people, because ultimately strong brands and strong people, are really the bone, the core of a great company. The third is a very, very strong value system. The values are super important. And I think what gives me, the space and comfort to be in this company for so many years is I've never ever been asked to do something that was not wrong by this company. Muskan Murjani asked me a question which I think you might want to know, which is, why is experience important in an organization? Why do work experienced people get more benefit than freshers? I think this is a very simple one. I'm down to our last couple of minutes, so I'll try and quickly answer them. I think this is really only because it takes you through life experiences, and it's not as much about skill set, but just getting through many, many different life experiences.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Biddappa, sir, and Director, sir, for making it such an unforgettable event.
Thank you very much, Savani. Thanks all of you for having me.